Hi, I'm Sophie Wilson, and this is People of the Pool, where we have conversations with those making a positive change in Liverpool's business community. We're known for our music, for our culture, tourism, and of course, football. But what's caught my eye since moving back from down south is the innovation and entrepreneurship that's happening in the city region. And this podcast is about championing just that. I'm blue, not red. I don't have a purple wheelie bin, but I'm still a proud Scouser, and I can't wait to share the stories of positive, inspirational changemakers with me. In this episode of People of the Pool, we meet Michelle Charters, CEO of Kuumba Imani Millenium Centre, whose mission it is to provide a community resource that supports and encourages the economic development, regeneration and sustainability of the local and wider diverse communities of Liverpool. Michelle, welcome to People of the Pool.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. Yeah. So, Kuumba Imani has been at home in Toxteth since the 1980s. Just tell us a bit more about it all and how it all came to be.
Kuumba Imani as a building has been in existence since 2004. The story and the purpose of the building comes from the 1980s. So I was 17 and a half years of age, working in the Charles Wotton Centre, which used to be based on Upper Parliament Street. And I was one of many Liverpool Black sisters, joined that group of women who wanted to address the inequalities that were in place at the time. Mm-hmm. We couldn't get the jobs, we couldn't get into university, families couldn't really develop. So the Liverpool Black Sisters formed to be a support network to families, to ensure that we could start to tap into some of these opportunities in a city that historically there's always been a Black presence for over 350 years, but you didn't see it. You didn't see it in city centre, you didn't see it in the universities at that time. So I sit with everybody else starting to think about how can we progress through this system and this city. And so we form together as a women's group. We work really hard supporting families, starting to address some of the discrimination that we were facing at the time. And more importantly, we start to offer the support that's really required for a mother or a family to be able to move on and go into to other opportunities by providing childcare. So we work from lots of people's basements. As part of that was our base. And one time we actually was able to go into a coach house, but I mean a coach house, a little tiny one. And we always had a dream that we'd have a building in Liverpool 8 in Toxteth. And that wasn't realised until around 1999, that we then tap into the Millennium Commission Fund. Yeah. And we pulled down 3.2 million. Wow. To build what you now see today is the Kuumba Imani Millenium Centre. Wow. So we work with the partners that we've built over those years from 1979 right up until 1999. We work with the community, we work with all the families, the many, many families that we've been supporting and working with and for over the many decades. And we build and design, they help to build and design what you see today is the Kuumba Imani Millenium Centre, which is a multicultural, multi-purpose centre. It's the only new build on Princess Road that is a conservation area. And we've got two parts to our building. We've got the new part that you see with the big, beautiful, fabulous Nelson Mandela mural by the fabulous John Coleshaw, and which Mandela 8, the charity, commissioned and asked for permission could to go on our building. So we love it because it's even more iconic now. It's the Liverpool Black Sisters building that is supporting one of the most famous Black men in the world. Love it. Mural on its building. So we're really pleased with that. But what we've done over the years is changed many times into different things, reviewed and audited what was working, what didn't, but we've stayed to our original aims, and that's supporting families, supporting people, and ensuring that Black people had a voice and had access to opportunities. And we've done it in lots of different ways. So we've got tenants in our building. But our tenants are quite special tenants. The charities that work with people, you know, like disabled or people experiencing mental health. And now, more recently, our newest tenant is Merseyside Law Centre, who were based in Bold Street and now based in Kuumba Imani, and who are offering free pro bono legal advice to local people.
Yeah.
So we've kind of gone from health to families to cultural understanding, and now to, you know, like, it's kind of like a circular support system in one building. And we're very well known for our approach to ensuring that we introduce, we get into the different sectors, and we work as partners of the many sectors to bring about much better opportunities to the majority of the community. And when we say community, we mean all communities. We recognise all the communities as well. So it's not just Black communities, it's the Irish community, it's the traveller community. We're kind of like a hub for many. And we're really proud of the partnership approach of bringing people together for them to kind of take the lead. So we don't say what people should be doing. We like to listen. Empower them. And we were able to do that really successfully through LA to Better Place, which is the project name of our community development team, which I was very lucky to pull down some funding from National Lottery. And I said to them, you give me 100,000 a year and I will aim to get to support 15 local activists, because we saw that there was a gap in activism in the community. And we want to train them. We want to employ a staff team. We want to offer some free training. And hopefully we'll get 15 people per year, which meant that over the first phase of that first National Lottery bid, we would have got 45 people. I can say to you very honestly and happily today that we're now in our second phase of the National Lottery, who've now continued to support us. So we're like second phase, year one. So 4 years in total. And in total, we've supported over 200 people.
Wow.
Who are now active, who are now out there, who are trained, who are running their own projects. So Cycle of Life is one of our activists. Fosia, Women on Bikes, all the key new projects that seem to be coming up through L8 now. Quite a lot of them have had some kind of support or training or been partners with Kuumba Imani over the last 4 years.
It's fantastic. I mean, for listeners, so obviously this podcast is for and about people making great positive change in Liverpool. Perhaps those not as familiar with Liverpool might be familiar with more negative headlines. I mean, the Toxteth riots in the 1980s, for example. And I love how what you've done is you've, out of a very negative and very difficult time, taken something really positive there in terms of your approach to support, your holistic approach. And this word activist stood out to me when I was doing my research on you guys. And there's something interesting about that word, isn't there? It's very positive. It's a dynamic word. So what does that mean to you? What are you trying to kind of...
I think first and foremost, it's about changing the narrative, stereotype. The stereotype, we never ever called them riots. The media called them the Toxteth riots. We called them the uprisings. We called them the fed up with the bad practice that was against us. You know, and when you look at the facts of that time, those disturbances, the majority of people that were involved in it weren't even from Liverpool 8, weren't from Toxteth. It's just that's where the location was. I think what Toxteth has got and what Liverpool 8 offers is such a great diversity of people, both black and white. It's always been a migration area. People live there. So, you know, many years ago, I'm 61, I was born in 1962. You know, I remember poverty. I remember us not living in a house until I was 13, but only living in rooms. You know, I remember watching my white mum tell me about, times when she tried to get a room and she could, as long as we weren't with her, or she didn't send me dad, because there was that fact of no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. So there's always been that affinity of discrimination between us and the Irish anyway. I've always believed that. I think different ways, I think different issues, massively. But, there is lots of people who face discrimination. And what I want to see is, I want to break down the stereotypes. I want to break down the ignorance and the discrimination by educating people both subtly and also, in some of my work I've done over the last 4 decades, because I've been doing this for 40 years now, is I get the best buzz when I realise that I work with a partner who's working with me and we both say, right, we want to do this. And then you visibly see change in attitudes. You see change in way the people address each other. And you see that positive change where people start to understand that there's similarities but differences between us all, and that it can be complementary. It doesn't need to be conflictual. That people can really complement each other when they understand each other, when they respect each other, and when they understand the differences. Because there's lots of kinds of differences. There's health differences between blacks and whites. White people don't get sick, so black people do.
More black women die in childbirth.
Black women die in childbirth more than white women. There's lots and lots of nuances, and it's like a cobweb with many, many strands. For me, my commitment has always been about sharing information, sharing opportunities, and basically sharing hope that we can work in a city that is so entrenched with a black presence and an Irish presence and a Jewish presence and a Somali presence.
The oldest Chinese community in the UK.
The Chinese in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's all these, the first ofs and the longest standing. And what we don't know, because it's always been, I think the biggest weapon of keeping communities together is by not giving them the information, not sharing the equal information, so they don't have the information to progress or to participate. And so I'm a massive information sharer. As soon as I get information, it's out. And it's out to everybody. It's out to the black community, it's out to the traveller community, it's out to everybody, because I think then people can make their own decisions. For Kuumba Imani, that was built on activism of women who were just fed up. We weren't having it. We were strong, we were feisty, we wanted to fight against the injustices that we felt in lots of different ways. And we still continue to. It's just that we do it a lot more cleverly now. We're not as gobby as we used to be. I was awful gobby when I was young. But
you're very articulate now, Michelle.
So I've toned down. Some people might say, no, she hasn't. But I have, because what I've learned is to listen. To listen, to learn, and to act is my motto.
Yeah.
So I listen to everybody. I learn from everybody. And I act with everybody. And in doing that, I've been able to do some amazing work in the city. And Kuumba Imani, I'm so proud of. It's been in existence till 2004. I didn't go in as the chief exec until 2006. But my contribution, the staff's contribution, the board contribution, and our supporters and partners over the last, 17 years has been tremendous, because even though we built a beautiful, shiny, big building, we were nearly lost it in the first 18 months. So it's been a story and a half to turn that round. But more importantly, to get it to a point of, mixed income. Trying to get to a point of self-sustainability, not focusing on grant reliance, because we already know that's the death knell for many. And also by working with funders to realise that we're not being greedy. We'll ask you for what we want. We won't ask for everything that you've got, because we recognise that there's other charities out there that really do need funds. So we're very much a sharing organisation as well.
And it's that self-sustainability and reinvestment.
Well, we get that through we do like I said, we've got 6 tenants, all luckily not on big, high, expensive rents.
Yeah.
We also offer conference and training and meeting room facility. And so in our building, we've got 2 big, large spaces that are beautiful, big, can fit up to 100 people in. And we charge 150 for the whole day.
Wow.
So there's not many places.
We better get some events on the go there for Tuesday Media.
That's doing that.
Yeah.
And we don't up the prices, because by upping the prices, you just lose your customer base, and also in these economic times at this present moment, nobody can afford anything. So let's support each other with little bits we all can support each other with, rather than, one person make money and the rest fail.
Yeah.
I think that the pound needs to spread between us all.
Yeah, I love that. It's very powerful. We've created People of the Pool podcast with the support of the team at Bengo Media. Dozens of businesses, large and small, turn to Bengo Media to get their podcasts up and running through their training, consultancy, and even hands-on production. And right now, Bengo Media is offering you, People of the Pool listeners, free online training to help get your podcast launched in 90 days. You'll get insight into the steps to take and some of the biggest mistakes to avoid. So, to claim your free online podcast training from Bengo Media, go to podcastschools.com now. That's podcastschools.com. Just going back to what you were saying before about being a gobby feisty young lady, was that, can you think back, did you have one moment in your life perhaps that was defining the path that you've gone down? Because as you said, you've had 40 years, very illustrious career, chair of Black History Month.
Chair of Black History Month. First black female trustee of Everyman and Playhouse Theatres. Current trustee of National Museums Liverpool.
Yeah.
And Kindred. I'm also a trustee of Kindred. And I was very fortunate. I've had so many great opportunities to work with many different communities on some excellent projects. So being involved in developing a programme of activity for Reverend Jesse Jackson as part of his Rainbow Coalition. That was an opportunity that was afforded to me because someone in the community who had been approached, Alan Gale, he phoned me up. He said, "Michelle, I've just been offered a Reverend Jesse Jackson, but I don't know what to do. Do you want him?" And I went, "Of course." And I just jumped on it. I'll jump on opportunities and think later, because I think that you have to just go for it. And if you've got a good network, if you've got good people, I've got a great team, I've got great friends. We can do whatever we want, and we can pull off things that have never even been achieved. And in this city that's still growing, and in this city that's changing massively, in front of our eyes, we all need to be together. So one of the things that I'm doing more now is working to bring the North and the South together, rather than the big divide between us here and people in Anfield and Walton and Kirkdale. So, there's a real effort to make sure that everybody, because the Black community is not just in L8 anymore, they are right across the region. I think that the immigration, we understand it, and migration, we understand that, because we've got family members who've gone through that process. So watching what's happening at the moment with refugees is really sad. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, for God's sake, we've got to go back to square one. Let's educate, because people need education. Instead of seeing them as a threat, they need to see them as, a contributor to our economy. So it's quite sad that we see that, but that's a good thing that we can do at Kuumba in this multicultural, multi-purpose resource. We've got 5 tenants who offer refugees all kinds of different support. So it's quite buzzy in the building at the moment. And I'm really enjoying that. There's loads going on. Tell us your favourite story about the positive impact or the power of the work of the Kuumba Imani Centre. And my newest is a 15-year-old young Yemeni boy comes into Kuumba to my staff member Saba, and he's upset because his nana's got dementia and he doesn't know what to do. So Saba comes to me and she's like, oh, Michelle, Abdul Wasi's just told me the saddest story about his nana who's got dementia and they don't know what to do, and it's quite taboo in the Yemeni community. It's at the same time as as a trustee, I'm getting ready to attend the Unilever event where Unilever had supported the app to the House of Memories as part of the dementia programme for National Museums Liverpool. So straight away, I said, ask his parents, can he come along to this event with me? Because I thought, he's a young person, he's took the time out to come out to see us. Let's see what we can do. So I take him over to Unilever, he puts a little suit on, and we go over and I tell him to tell them his story, the director of House of Memories and the director of Unilever. And I said, this is an amazing product. House of Memories is a brilliant product for supporting people with dementia. But listen to this young boy's story. He tells the story. They realise, they ask him, well, what do you think's missing? Why wouldn't the Yemeni community use this app? And he explains why. They worked together for the next 18 months and we've now got the first in the world Yemeni app for dementia support for families.
Wow.
From this little 15-year-old boy who walked through the doors of Kuumba Imani just 2 days before I was going to something that could link with a company like Unilever, please.
Wow.
You know, it's kind of grown legs, and he's now 18 at university, and he acknowledges every single time he speaks Kuumba Imani for that first opportunity.
Wow.
So that shows that intergenerational support, that shows the cultural differences and the cultural understanding or trying to understand in a Western society, how we can integrate and how we can succeed.
And when you bridge that gap, the power of what you can create together.
For the world.
Yeah.
First in the world. I'm like, oh my God. You know, it's no longer just you're the first in the city. To actually be part of something that has been created as the first ever in the world is absolutely amazing.
So many layers to that story as well, isn't there?
I can tell you a million stories of Kuumba Imani. I can tell you a million stories of great people, but we haven't got enough time.
No, we haven't. Sadly, we'll have to have you back though for sure. We talked about Liverpool before, and obviously you're in a prime location. Just thinking generally about the city region, what's brilliant about it? What's great about being based here?
I think I love the people, even the narcs. I love them. I love going somewhere and someone's kind of looking at me like that and give them a big smile and talk and end up in a conversation. I think Scousers, I love Scousers. I've lived in London, I've lived in New York. I love Liverpool. I'm its greatest ambassador. I can go anywhere in this world and I'll end up talking about Liverpool. I love the infrastructure. I love the buildings. My most thing is loving the people, all people. I think that people can change, and I think if anyone's going to change, it'll be Scousers. You know, like somebody has said before, we don't give up. We never give up.
Yeah.
Hillsborough shows that. You know, all the injustices show that we do not give up. And even, we may not be your busy mate, but we'll have your back every time if there's an injustice. And I think that is the unique quality of Liverpool. We embrace people and we make them feel comfortable. If they don't like us, if they don't want to be embraced, then we say, all right, then do one. Go on to the next person. So we have that capacity to care, and that, you know, whether that's someone on the street, a lot of people, a lot of tourists or visitors say to me, God, they're so friendly here. And I said, I know, because you can walk around London for a month and no one would even look at you. And that is the reality of it. Mm-hmm. So we are a welcoming city. I just hope that we'll be a good city. I hope. I think Eurovision will show what we are as a city, you know, for people. And there are issues around the whole Ukraine war, the Russia war and everything. But at the end of the day, we're just going to, for those few moments, just focus on the people.
Absolutely. It's a theme that comes up again and again. Michelle, you've had such an amazing career and made such a huge contribution across so many areas that we'll definitely have to have you back again in the future. What do you think is the most important lesson that you have learned on your journey?
The most important is to be true. To be true, to act true, and to care. I really do think that you have to care in order to feel, and you have to feel in order to act. So, you've got to, whether it's a feeling of frustration, a feeling of anger, or a feeling of love, everything comes from that feeling, and put your best into it. And for everything I've ever been involved in, I've always tried my best, and that's all I can say. I'm not saying it was the best, but I've tried my best.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I love is that I'm starting to pass the baton. I'm 61, going to be 62 soon, and I know there's just so much talent in our city, and I want to pass everything I've learned and done onto them so they can bring their contribution, and we can make it even a better city. So, it's like, just be caring.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything.
Amazing.
And it's not always about money either. So,
yeah. The power of the connections and what sprung from what you've created just shows
me and
that,
many
doesn't
others.
it?
I'm not the only one. Liverpool Black Sisters was, and I was checking, 120 women. That's Liverpool Black Sisters.
Wow.
That were actively involved, including the thousands of women that we supported. So, but there was 120 members of women. I'm only one of them.
Oh, well, we owe a debt to them for today.
Thank you.
I feel kind of that was a really great note, and now I'm going to bring it down with asking the same question that we're asking every guest that comes on. If you had to name Kuumba Imani with a Beatles song title, what would it be and why?
Well, first I'm going to say two. So sorry, I'm going to be different. But I think one is Let It Be.
Yeah.
We never do. we don't let anything be. We move forward with action. We move forward with purpose. And the other one that I was listening because I thought, let me see which Beatles songs. I do like the Beatles.
Yeah.
But it was Goodbye Hello. And I was like, that's interesting. And the reason why I say that is that a lot of people might want to say goodbye. I'm always saying hello. No, let's do this differently.
Yeah.
I am your critical friend with solutions, whether you know it or not.
Who's never going to let it be.
Who's never going to let it be. So they were the two songs. And, I think the Beatles have given us a massive platform around the world. But the Beatles also, I'm very proudly to say, was very heavily influenced by the Black community in Liverpool.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of their road managers was one of our family, our community family, Mr. Phillips. He was the one who helped them and took them to Germany. So the Phillips family in Liverpool, their father helped to really push the Beatles. He never really got the recognition for it, but a local LA fella was responsible behind them too.
He's getting it now on People of the Pool. So, Blackbird, really beautiful song. That was written about Paul McCartney, I think, had witnessed the struggle with two black women on a trip somewhere, and he wrote that song inspired by that. So,
well, I think the music was inspired as well. If you listen to some of the music, you can tell they definitely went to a couple of our clubs, even though we didn't have them. We had illegal clubs at the time because we couldn't get in a club in town, but they came.
Yeah.
I have seen photographs. I've actually got a photograph of the Beatles with a local group, and also a big American thing. They used to come into our community, and that was good. That's how they got influenced. But also, they've highlighted it for so many other musicians that we've got now coming out. We've got some fabulous new musicians coming.
I feel like we could go on forever and ever, but we'll have to close now. Yeah. Michelle, if you could give listeners to People of the Pool one key takeaway from today, and there's been so many wonderful insights, but just one key thing, what would it be?
Be yourself. Be yourself and act yourself.
Simple, but very powerful. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Okay.
If you want to find out more about some of the amazing things that are going on in Liverpool City region, go to www.tuesday-media.com/People of the Pool. People of the Pool is presented by me, Sophie Wilson. Until next time.